Hello, this is international football commentator Derek Ray, and make no mistake, this is your source for all things black and gold. Football just wouldn't be football without Berwick Rangers. Stand by for this edition of the Let It BRFC podcast.
Hello, welcome to the Let It BRFC podcast. I'm Adam Hunter and I'm joined by Nathan Thompson and Dave Buglass. How are you guys? You alright?
All good. Adam, it feels like a really long time since we've heard your dulcet tone, so thank you for asking me to come along.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I haven't seen you in ages. You've lost about 10 stone.
Nearly. I think I've lost 4 stone. 4 stone in 4 months. I've been walking 10 kilometres a day since October. So I'm doing the Land's End to John O'Groats, and I think I'm 111 miles from the finishing line. So nearly there.
And you're also fundraising for it, or you're self-fundraising, aren't you?
Yeah, for the MS Society, Multiple Sclerosis Society Scotland. Obviously something that's close to my heart because obviously my wife Susan's got MS. So so I'm just going to make a donation to that at the end of it. To be honest, I didn't set out to do that. I was just set out to get a little bit healthier and fitter, and it just kind of I got a bit obsessed with it at Christmas when I was sitting in the house over the weekend looking at my laptop, looking at how many steps I'd done. So I think I'm over 2.5 million steps now. So
Christ, you look well, man.
Feel good. Might get a game for the first team at some stage, Adam. You never know.
What's your position? Where would you normally play?
Centre back.
Brilliant.
Centre back, full back. Yeah.
You're not playing full back, Dave. Not these days.
No, I'm not.
How about yourself, Nathan? How are you?
Yeah, all good. Thanks, Adam. All good.
Great stuff. So we had the AGM last week, which is sort of the point of the podcast this week. How do you think that went, Dave?
I think it was the 68th AGM. Dennis kept telling us it was the first ever AGM by Zoom. I thought it was expertly facilitated and hosted by Dennis. I thought we had a pretty decent turnout. I thought it was quite slick in terms of the agenda that we went through. We had some really great questions, which obviously Nathan fielded in advance for us. And I think and I hope that the supporters who took the time to turn up got really good, clear answers, but also really good insights into how the club was going. And whilst it's been a bit quiet, I guess, for the last sort of month or so, just obviously with the suspension again, work hasn't stopped. But yes, I think I was pleased. I think Nathan, you can probably add in. How did you feel it went?
Yeah, for me, it carried a tone of progress, positivity, yet caution. So I think progress. It's a year on really since we all joined, and we've came a long way. Positivity, I think we've achieved a lot of what we set out to achieve. And again, not all that on the pitch. A lot of it was about stabilising and helping us build for the future, which hopefully we can do. Yet caution, so there's been some positive results financially. They must be taken with a pinch of salt. We've still got an awful lot of hard work to do, but I look forward to the challenge ahead.
What is an AGM? Obviously it's a shareholder meeting, but what actually is it? What's the point of it?
I think it was interesting because I've spent all my career, nearly 30 years in corporate, so I have a sense of what an AGM is, but I thought ours might have been a bit more, not disrespectfully, a little bit more relaxed. So I remember last January standing at the club upstairs with Brian and Craig and Dougie and Drew, talking about what our hopes and expectations were of the club to move forward. So I understand that wasn't an AGM, it was more EGM, a fans kind of meeting. I thought it might have been a bit more like that. So, I think an AGM to an extent is just obviously something that's constituted against us because we are a shareholder organisation and we have to follow a set agenda, which we did impeccably. So, but then again, even at the end, Adam, we were able to, I think once we closed the club, we still spent a wee bit of time and answered 2 or 3 questions with the fans where if we'd done it at the Black and Gold or in at Shieldfield, we probably would have stayed around and had a pint and socialised with some of the people. So I think we made the best of it as much as we could have done. But that whole sort of fan engagement thing, I think if we were in a normal time, we probably would be doing more of that on an ongoing basis. So I think for me, it fulfilled what it really needed to do last week.
Yeah, and to build on what Dave said, I think we're all volunteers, so it's slightly different. But like Dave and day jobs in the corporate world. So AGM or Capital Market Day, whatever you want to call it, it's an annual gathering of shareholders who ultimately own the company. They appoint and vote on the people who will run their company. That's normally the board, the directors. That's Dave and I, Craig, Brian, Andrew, Dougie, and Gary, etc. So in a traditional organisation, it's you reappoint your CEO and whatever else. You tend to have a section in a large AGM around remuneration. So the shareholders will pass or decline to vote on the remuneration package of a CEO or something like that. So we don't have that because we're volunteers, but essentially it's a chance for us to provide an update to the owners of the club on progress and in previous years talk about strategy and progress against that strategy. So
I actually, and to be honest, I think what might have been slightly odd about this AGM is that whilst it is once a year, which is why it's called an annual general meeting, I think one of the things that we stated last January when we started was transparency. So I think if we hadn't been telling fans everything every week, every month as we've gone through, it probably would have been a busier AGM. But I think, said nicely, we didn't really have a lot of new news. We were really just reinforcing what had happened and what we were hoping was still to come. So we probably made our life slightly easier last week, Adam, in the fact that we've been constant with the communication, over the course of the last 12 months.
I think the other thing that I observed was there wasn't a person on the screen I hadn't seen or heard before. There was like 50 people, 30 to 50, something like that. And every single person was a familiar face. For me, it hit home that it really is a community club and everyone's working together. It isn't us and them. It feels very much a collective target and objectives to be met, which is good.
Yeah. So obviously with the way that the world is at the minute, we've had to adapt, and a lot of our content has been delivered over the digital space, if you like. One thing that you were pivotal in starting up this year, Nathan, was the 1881 Club. How's that grown?
I think it can grow an awful lot more, would be my kind of true reflection. We set off for a target. We just about met that, which is good. But I genuinely believe we should be able to and could be able to at least double that. And that really has got to be our target. And I guess that we being our target, that's got to be on us, right? We've got to make it compelling, engaging, and make people want to be part of it, to feel the value. And I think the previous point around it being a community club and everyone helping out is something to tap into and continue to work with that fan base to essentially streamline the revenue into the club, and where there are people are offering support, try and build that into a repeatable way like 1881. So we're about 100 members just around that mark at the minute. I still find it baffling yet really inspiring that only 33% of those are from Berwick. The rest aren't, which I think is really quite cool. The two furthest are from the US and in Canada. So Vancouver is, I don't know where's further. Try to think, yeah. So they're our furthest to a field. I think it's been the last couple of weeks have been a bit quiet because there's been not a lot going on, and the regular content that we get from the manager or the players, not really. With furlough, they aren't at work, so we can't really go and interview them, and we aren't asking Yano and whoever else to give us their thoughts in writing. So admittedly a bit quiet the last maybe 2 weeks or so, but you yourself, Adam, have an interesting proposition in 3 or 4 weeks' time, which I'm sure will be announced, and we're going to do some other stuff over the next week or two for 1881 members. I'll cover one briefly, which is for those who've been onto our website recently in terms of digital growth. The website has a new look and new feel. We've updated it, we cleaned it up, and one of the things myself, Dale, Adam and Martin are working on are building out an 1881 private area where you can log in and get access to your own content, and there'll be a match day center where you can log in and find out about the match and the team news first. So yeah, we're working in the background on that. It's just taking a bit of time because we're all back to our full-time jobs as well.
No, that sounds really interesting. What sort of feedback you had on it?
So no one's came to us, but the biggest bit of feedback is the usage.
Right.
Like the stats of people using it are, I don't want to overdo it, mind blown, but for me as a small club, like we have some days with 2,500 people look at it, and it's quite impressive. 2,500 to 3,000 people looking at our website. Without pushing it, we've had national companies come to us and asked and given us money to sponsor our website, to be a partner on our website, because we've got high volume traffic. We rank highly on Google. So whilst it's also had that kind of facial visual uplift, one of the key things that we wanted to do with it was actually to make it a bit easier to use and on the admin side. So for us to be able to build it, manage it, grow it, so we want to leverage the platform that's now in place to better highlight our sponsors, make it easier for us to partner people, whether that's local businesses who we want to do a specific section on. So if a fan from an away team is coming to Berwick, they can go visit Berwick and find out about find out about restaurants or whatever it is. But then equally, that partnership page will be able to attract bigger companies. So that's really good. The other thing, as I mentioned, just anyway, the login area, I think it's really good that we're able to move to a proper kind of digital subscription model. So we can have an area where you can log in and get your own stuff and you manage your own account. That'll be good. One of the challenges is always the data, keeping the scores up to date, the players up to date. So I guess shout out to Martin Ingalls, who slogs away on updating the table every week and those sort of admin tasks, which you think would be automated, but sadly aren't.
How would you like to be in with a chance of winning £1,000 every month? If that sounds appealing to you, because it sure does to me, you need to join Berwick Rangers Supporters Club's monthly draw. For just £5 per month, you'll go into a draw with hundreds of other Dream Team supporters to win the monthly jackpot. In addition to the £1,000 prize, the Supporters Club will be donating £250 each month to a chosen local charity, with the rest of the profits from the draw going to the football club. For details on how to sign up, visit berwickrangers.com or message the supporters organisation on Facebook, Berwick Rangers Supporters Club, or on Twitter at BRFC Sup Club. Berwick Rangers Supporters Club, supporting your club and your community.
I'm going back to the AGM. One thing, or one of the main points that came out of it was around the club reporting a profit for last year, Dave. What does that mean?
I remember standing at Sheffield Park last January, and obviously we had the numbers. Mark McLennan had kind of sort of shared how bleak the picture was when we started, and I think we were pretty honest in an open room and said, look, the bottom line is this: we're going to lose £65,000 by the end of the season. We're going to have little or no money left in the bank. So that's just the way it's going to rock. So to kind of end the season, I guess due to a few anomalies around the counting, that with what was a small 4-figure profit was, I think, pretty spectacular. I think it's fair to say, though, you can't get carried away. Just because we made a small profit doesn't mean to say the problem's gone away. I mean, the conversation we had a year past January is largely the same conversation we'll be having just now. Things are tough. I think what the last year has taught us all is, certainly taught me individually, is, how you run a football club. What money you pay in every month, what money you pay out, where all the cash goes over the course of the season, and when you have an issue or form drops and how income goes down, how you have to respond. And we took over a club in January that was on its knees. We did not foresee a pandemic like anybody else that was coming. Yeah, we, using a really trendy word at the minute, we pivoted and we had to basically kind of rethink everything and work out how we were going to survive. And I think it says, a lot that we made that small profit, and I think that profit is largely down to the hard work of the directors, the associate directors, but also the fans and the people and the sponsors around us who stuck by us, and at a time when they could easily have kept their money in their own pockets when things have been tough outside. So I think most importantly, what it meant to us was that everybody cared, and people cared enough to kind of make this club sort of succeed and survive and go longer than what we were, I guess, painting as quite a big picture last January. So it was fantastic, but we start from zero again and we go again, and next year's profit, no doubt, because Brian, our chairman, Brian's a taskmaster when it comes to pennies. He will be expecting a bigger profit. No doubt, at the same time as what even better results than we've seen so far. So, but yeah, no, for me it was a sense of pride as being someone that's had a small role to play in it.
Yeah, I'd agree with Dave's last point. I think the turnaround was absolutely a goal, and that was stability and turnaround was key. This now is stability and growth. Dave's saying we'll start from zero. It's actually worse than that, to be a bit maybe too open and honest. We don't have parachute payments. That we've been relegated out of the league long enough now that doesn't happen going forward. So there's a chunk of money that we historically got that we won't have next season. So it's on us as a group to source that, to raise that, to find that, to try and deliver at least what we had this year. So yeah, no easy task, but not one anyone's shying away from.
I think one other thing, actually, and it's not a criticism of other football clubs, but I don't think I truly understood. I mean, I've been in business all my life, but I don't think I truly understood the ins and outs of financially of running a football club. And now I understand how you run a football club, say Berwick Rangers, which is a pretty big club at our level. It does surprise me that more clubs have not struggled more in the last 12 months. When you see what they're spending, we know what we spend in terms of player wages and how we compete for players and stuff like that. And we are nowhere near by far the best players, certainly in our league. Yet other clubs are paying more than us, and in League Two as well. Yet you just don't see the fan bases, you don't see the social media exposure or penetration, and you just wonder how they're doing it. And I just think one thing the last 12 months has taught us as well is that we won't live beyond our means. We'll live absolutely within our means, and and if not a little bit more than that. So.
Yeah, that's the point of sustainability, isn't it? Unless you've got a private investor, which we don't, who can regularly put their hand in the pocket, which may or may not be the case at other clubs in our league. You just have to do exactly as Dave says. You can only spend what you have.
There's talk about League One, League Two returning to competitive action in the near future. Do you think that we will be very far behind, Dave?
It's funny, I was just speaking to Craig before briefly, as we do a lot on social media, WhatsApp and that, and I asked that question to Craig. I mean, I think our ambition still is to go back at the start of March. I think the tentative dates that have been bandied about at our level within the Lowland League board, Craig and Brian have been at a number of meetings in the last sort of 2 or 3 weeks, and that seems to be the outline plan, the outline vision. I think we are all grateful to see that the new cases are starting to go down slowly. That obviously in Scotland, I stay in Scotland, obviously we're still locked down until the end of February. Schools are likely to go back at the start of March. So I think March at the start of is what is hoped and expected. I think that is quite challenging because it leaves the management team with yet another pre-season training programme. Mm-hmm. So I think it's the third one during the season. So I don't think we'll be back. I don't think we'll be back any quicker, Adam, if I'm being honest. I mean, we just have to be sensible, and I think Craig alluded to this on the AGM. We had nothing to hide. We wrote to the Lowland League and we expressed our concerns, as did Dalbeattie Star on. We had volunteers, people who were kit people, and people just supporting the team in that, who were travelling left, right, and centre to go to home games and away games, and for them it just became unsafe. So we basically did express a concern about whether we should be continuing in the first place. It wasn't based on us that we stopped, but we weren't surprised we were stopped, and we were fully supportive of that. But at the same time, I know the boys are itching to get back. You just need to look at their own Instagrams and social media and stuff like that. So, but I do think we'll be back, but I wouldn't foresee us back at the same time as League One and League Two.
And part of the discussions that's been happening about the return of football is around the actual restructuring of the league. So extending League Two into 16 clubs. How would you feel about that?
We talk about it being a pyramid, but to be honest, it's a pyramid with the top chopped off. Genuinely, it's more square than it is a pyramid. In fact, it's more like a lock room or a safe room than it is a pyramid. But if you're going to have a pyramid system like you have down in England or anywhere else there is a pyramid system that works, it's got to be fair. It's got to be transparent. None of this playoff nonsense that you get at the end of a season. It's like, if you win a league, the top team should at least go up automatically and somebody should come down. And then if you want to put 2 teams up, then maybe the second team can play in some form of playoff system. But it's got to be two-way traffic because, again, said respectfully and not disrespectfully, there are far better organised financial teams in the Lowland League and the Highland League than some of the clubs in League Two in Scotland, and they deserve the chance to be up there with the big guys. So I would support reconstruction, anything that makes the game survive, anything that gets more opportunities for us to get back to where we think we belong. I do think we do belong there. Then that would be great. And at the moment, we've got a bottleneck within the Lowland League. We've got at least 2 clubs in the league at the minute. No surprise, EK and Kelty, who pay probably way more than we do on a weekly basis for players. Have got bigger budgets, so that's always going to be a challenge. And okay, every season you can have a Leicester City or something like that, but more often than not, it's going to be a Man City, a Liverpool, or a Man United or something like that. Ultimately, it's going to win the league. So we need to clear the bottleneck. So I think a pyramid and a reconstruction of a 16-team league would be, for me, a far more sensible approach moving forward.
So do you think having the Rangers and Celtic Colts in the league is going to be somewhat of a necessary evil in order to get the clubs to open up that trapdoor, if you like?
Yeah, I mean, like the Colts situation's been one that's been on for ages, I guess, and it doesn't matter whether it's Rangers and Celtic first team or Rangers and Celtic reserve sides or Colts sides, you're always going to get a loyal following of these teams around. So if it's going to put a little bit of money through the gate in terms of us earning a bit more gate income every year, then I guess I can understand why. I mean, but then again, when you talk about Rangers and Celtic, well, why wouldn't you have Hibs and Hearts? So I do think it's quite a controversial point. I mean, I'd love to see the statistics around how many players out of the old firm have gone and played at clubs like Bennett Rangers, so Robbie McCrory, whatever it is, and gone back and done equally as well. So I don't get why these players couldn't be farmed out, but it seems to be that there's a growing demand for it to kind of happen. So I do suspect that no doubt they'll get their way.
Nathan, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, much the same, really. I don't have the legacy in Scottish football Dave does and the knowledge of it, but on the basic analysis of where we are now, 16 teams make sense. I don't know. I've grown up a Newcastle fan, and I've got an interest in the English leagues through my kind of youth, and yeah, it's surprising that it was so difficult for us to go back up. I didn't really understand why the door was shut, I guess. It does seem farcical. You've got to win the league, then win a playoff, and then another playoff just to go up. I don't really get that. So I think that like Dave said, that needs to change. I think also 16 teams would be a bit more engaging. Like you get to play a bit more variety, and it probably costs with that. But I think it just makes sense. 10 is a very small number to have in a league. I think I'm all for 16, but more selfishly, as Dave says, I think if you can give the likes of Kelty and East Kilbride the chance to go up, it gives that next tier of teams in our league who are a bit more equal in terms of financial challenge a proper run at it. I think that for us it would present probably the best opportunity we've had in years to go up if Kelty and East Kilbride were League Two teams, but there's lots of could be's and maybes in there, isn't there? So
I think money's one part of it. It's interesting. I think money's one part of it. I think one thing we learned this year is our brand wasn't particularly clever. I think there's maybe been a few years there where people have looked down upon us as a club, like players have, and they've not been that impressed and inspired. But what we've now got is we've almost got a few of our players almost becoming ambassadors and advocates on their social media. So you look at the situation with Kevin Worf, Grant Nelson, Kieran Somerville, Craig Reid, they're all schoolmates, aren't they? They probably all talked to each other when they were getting asked, about signing and stuff like that. So that we seem to be getting a better reputation again. We seem to be hot on social media. We seem to give players more opportunities. We seem to be, and where we kind of don't have the money for cash in terms of wages, we try to do other things to make it feel, better for them. So maybe with the right playing budget, maybe, with a clearer route to getting back to the league, maybe we will get that chance to get those players that we've been trying to get very hard this year. So quite exciting at the same time as frustrating, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully it'll become a little bit more clear in the next couple of weeks as all them conversations about the return of football does come back. One thing I did want to ask you about was around the community foundation.
Yeah.
How's that been going?
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny one, right? Because obviously it's been a little bit quiet as well, although it's perceived to be quiet on the outside. So there is a lot going on. I do believe that Warren and his trustees, who are now in place, have some pretty ambitious plans with regards to potentially having the funding secured for possibly a club development manager. I know that's been getting talked about in the last couple of weeks. I was on a call last week. I got pulled into one, which I've now engaged with the foundation, but they're now speaking to it used to be Northumberland spot and Tyne and Weir spot, which has merged into something called, I think, Rise, where we're looking at a programme to help people who have got, they've been victims of child abuse, neglect, and all kind of stuff in the local community within Berwick, which it's funny being a Berwicker, you never hear about it type thing, but there's apparently more statistics in Berwick where that happens now than in the past. So we'd start to look at a few programmes with regards to getting those started. The other thing is, well, it's Andy Thorpe and Tracy Donegie. They've been working really hard in the background on the Wildcats application for the girls. Yeah. So we've secured a slot at the new AstroTurf in terms of the girls' programme launching, just as soon as we can get back. So whilst we had that initial thing in August, we kind of hit lockdown in facilities. That's kind of all going well in the background as well. And then there's ongoing conversations with regards to the juniors, and Nathan and myself, we've been helping a little bit with their kit. So they're now looking to obviously rebrand, and they've actually agreed to adopt the club badge now in the shirts. So they'll have their old badge on the left sleeve, they'll have the foundation on the right sleeve, and then they'll wear the Kappa kit that we've got, but they'll have the Berwick Rangers badge, which is again is another wee sort of, whilst it feels small, it feels like quite a wee momentous thing as well. So lots of things connected to the foundation, like all coming together in terms of Warren's jigsaw, and I think we'll start to hear more about it as we start getting going again. So all good.
Excellent. No, that's great to hear. Like you said, it was possibly from the outside, it does look as though there's not a lot that's been going on, but obviously there's stuff that can't be announced. There's conversations that are happening. It's not as though it's stopped.
I mean, it's funny. It's funny, right? It's January, February. Like, joking aside, this week I was laughing with a colleague today. I wouldn't say I had the best start of the week this week in terms of getting myself out of bed and getting logged on and stuff like that, because you know what we're all like in January and February, can get a little bit, I don't know, I think you find it hard to restart your year, and on top of that we have a pandemic. Last year we got to November, December, we're probably at the end of the working year, and on top of that you've got a pandemic. So I think it's understandable that it's been a bit quiet, because if I'm being really honest, for me personally, if you think about how my roles changed, I was probably doing far too much at the beginning before Nathan joined, but I was like right into fundraising, 1881 fund, donate a ticket, all that kind of crazy stuff. And then towards the second part of the year, I make no apologies to say, I wouldn't say I vanished, but I definitely wasn't doing as much as maybe Craig and Nathan and some of the others. But I think sitting at the board meeting last week, I actually felt quite humble and quite motivated again, so it's like, right, what's your good for us? So I just think the directors have got different energy levels and different things. So I think I'm probably more of a sort of a ready day when there's a problem and the fire needs put out. I like to be in at the start, so, but we've kept up different moments when we've had like low moments and up moments, and I think we've just been recharging our batteries. And most importantly, we do this as volunteers. We've all got families, so our families have got to come first at some stage. And, I've got to make sure I look after my, my wife and my kids and stuff like that. But again, I look forward to this year. This year looks like it's going to be quite exciting again. So, but it's definitely evolved. I think we've all got portfolios and areas of responsibility, but Nathan will tell you, I think we all kind of get involved.
Yeah, that would be the difference I'd talk about. Is at the start, I think we all had to be involved with everything, because we were still figuring out how we worked as a team, whose skills were where, who had what time available. Whereas I think certainly over the second half of the year we've had as a group, that individual portfolio stuff is really taking the lead. So Andrew at the minute, Andrew is probably one of the busiest. He's working on a range of facilities type activities, which he's spending probably a good few hours a day on that. And then at the end of the week, we hope we'll kind of get a debrief and an update. Equally, Craig's starting to put all his energy into next year and planning the finances and making sure where we are. And again, I don't know, me and Dave aren't involved in that in every single meeting he has with Brian or Mark, but it comes back to the collective every time for review and discussion. So I think at the start, we all, as we were figuring out our skill sets and our time availability and our relationship, you just spend a lot more time together. I think we've definitely got to a place of trust. There's that very cliche corporate training stuff of Foreman, Storm and Norman. I think we probably had a good form. There was probably a storm as well, to be fair. There was there was some conflicts, and I think they're healthy to figure out who's good at what. And I think we're into that norm now. I think there's a pretty good rhythm and a pretty good cadence. I think we talk daily. We don't need to, one of the things that I was always worried of was like only things happen at a board meeting. We are a million miles from that. There's not a day that goes by where there isn't some sort of communication which everyone has access to on a digital platform. So it really does help. And I guess that on that last point, as we've got more comfortable in that Norman stage, the level of decision making that we can do without meeting is increasing. We've all got more trust in each other. We all got an understanding of how to present a case in a way that everyone understands it on Slack. So, there's things that can get done really quickly, which might historically have taken 6-8 weeks, the time you get people together and you discuss it. But I think we've definitely got pretty slick as working as a team.
Yeah. It's interesting as well, because I only physically met Nathan. I met him once at the ground briefly, and then I met you at Donny Pace for the Scottish Cup tie.
Yeah, it was the first time we spent more than 10 minutes together.
Yeah, physically, I've met Nathan twice. Like, I knew Gary Burns whenever I used to coach his son. Gary lives, over Motherwell way. Gary's a really good example where I wouldn't say he felt a little bit on the edge with how his involvement in the club. Brian, in fairness, was asking the question, "Who's this guy, Gary? What can he do? How can he help?" And then Gary literally knocked it out of the park with the whole COVID situation. Gary has been an absolute superstar in terms of protocols, liaising with clubs, liaising with the management team, setting up materials where we've supported him, working with different suppliers to get the right tools into the building with regards to cleaning and all that stuff. So we've almost all had a moment where we've been really needed, rather than always needed, and we've just stepped in. I mean, there's some directors who are more involved than others, constant, and then we've got people like obviously Nathan and Dale and Martin and yourself in the background, and so we've just basically flexed at different times when different skills have been required. So it's been quite inspiring to watch, actually. Yeah,
and the really cool thing about that is when there is a problem, no one backs out. It is very much, right, let's do it. That flex thing, everyone gets all in very quickly. No one's like, oh, not again, I can't be bothered. I mean, it's let's solve it.
Yeah. I think at the same time we said last week even, it's like, I mean, don't get me wrong, we would love nothing better than, having a game at home and then having a night out at Foxton's or wherever you go and bet it out and just sitting in a pub having a beer, because we've not even had that. I remember having a beer with you and Dale and Martin I met, at a game when I first started, but I've not had the chance to sit down with Brian and Craig and others and have a right good chat. So we like the fans look forward to doing that as well. So
yeah,
and I think adding to that, it's also just looking forward to having fans back. That for me, we've not. I think you guys, you, Craig, and Brian had 6 games. So you said, for me, I joined with this vision of what it'd be like to be part of the club. And it's not turned out that way at all. I've not experienced a fun day at Shieldfield when we win, hopefully, and just spend time socialising and enjoying it. Rather, where Adam and I are stressing like mad about a stream falling over on a Saturday, and it's not the most pleasurable experience on a Saturday. I don't actually have watched football other than that Dunny Place game where I went to an away game to watch. Most of my time I watch the games back on a Monday, Tuesday, because we're constantly staring at a screen or messaging Adam to watch Pappy's language on the stream or whatever he's doing. It's quite a stressful experience, which resulted in not getting to watch much football live. So I'm looking forward to just having a good day out, I guess.
Club 1881 is your opportunity to be part of a community of Dream Team supporters, helping to transform the club's financial fortunes. For just £18.81 per month, you can help your club become a more sustainable one, safeguarding the future of Berwick Rangers Football Club and building a solid foundation for the club to target future success from. Club 1881 members receive access to exclusive JERS content ranging from podcasts to videos, player interviews to meet the management team sessions, newsletters to club shop sales and more. And if that wasn't enough, all Club 1881 members will gain free admission to all home Lowland League fixtures, where they might even scoop a £200 jackpot through the bond scheme number, also included in their membership fee. To become a Club 1881 member today, simply head to berwickrangers.com/shop/Club 1881. One team, your team, Dream Team.
Just to round up, how's your first year with Berwick Rangers been, Nathan?
Great question. How would you describe it? Unexpected, enjoyable, way more challenging than I thought it would be. The level of commitment is exceeding what I expected, but I actually enjoy it. I think having a good team of people makes the work more fun. There have been ups and downs. Personal highlight was the EK game. I know we lost, but it was the first time I'd been in the ground where, even though there was no fans, there was an atmosphere, like a proper atmosphere. We really wanted to beat them. There was a bit of pre-match drama, not in a big drama, but just a bit of bickering, and you could tell that everyone on our side really wanted to give it to them, and there was just tension in the air. So that was really cool. Sadly, we lost, although it was a battling display. So that was good. The other one is the Stirling University result. That was probably another highlight. Just to pull it back, I know we were pretty rubbish, the fact we gave away a lead, but that last minute winner again, there was only 15 of us in the stands, but it sounded pretty like a fair few more than 15. It was really good. In terms of the other kind of key points I would bring up, I really enjoyed working with you guys. So with yourself, Adam, Martin and Dale, I speak to you guys more than anybody. We speak probably cumulatively 45 minutes a day. The messages must add up to, if not more, as we get close to Saturday. And then that leads on to commitment. I've been impressed and proud to work with such a committed team. Now, again, just to put it in context, people, so the stream stuff, if it's games on a Saturday, Adam, Martin, Dale, myself probably start a decent amount of work on a Wednesday, and there's work to do every day up to Saturday. So in a season which is being condensed into 2 games a week, we were probably spending a couple hours a day every day to make stuff happen, whether that's to get the products online on the shop for you to buy, whether that's the lotteries, the programs, the actual stream, to do the testing. It's been a whirlwind. So I think that's probably how I'd sum it up: a whirlwind that is still spiraling, but in a bit more of a controlled manner.
I like the way you put that. That was great. Dave, same question to you.
I've constantly been involved in football since I was 18, 19 year old, like all different levels, all different kind of roles and stuff. So I guess when Craig got me last January at a moment of weakness, when I was clearly not thinking clearly enough, I just said, yeah, go on then. I mean, I think I've said this before, not disrespectfully again, I'm not as big a Berwick fan as some of you guys are, but I've definitely learned to be since I got involved. So I think I've enjoyed the year because it's allowed me to use my daytime skills, Monday to Friday skills, just to kind of help stabilise the club, the business. But at the same time, most importantly for me coming back was I wanted to put something back into my community. And whilst I don't live in Berwick now, I stay in Falkirk, the town is still very close to my heart. So whether it be the club or whether it be now the community foundation, that was always probably one of the first things that I wanted to kind of make a difference with. And, I guess another thing is, I've been getting photographs sent at the new Astro. And obviously I was involved in that as well before I came back to the club. So I just want to see the town do well. And I want to see the town begin to understand again that it does have a really classic, famous old club that it needs to try and get back and support. But at the same time, we have to make it a worthy proposition for them to come back and see. So, and then looking forward, I don't know, just keeping doing what we're doing. And maybe, obviously we all want to try and get back in the league. We have to be realistic. I mean, there are moments when I think, the Lone League's a really great place. It's got lots of really great grounds and we have lots of really great days out. And most important thing is keeping the club on the road. So, but at the same time, I do think it'd be great to get back in the league. But, we come up against the obstacle of Scottish football, like we talked about before. It's got to be a different product, different proposition. So, but yeah, so it's been good fun. I've enjoyed meeting Nathan. I've enjoyed meeting all these people. And, I have had moments over the last 12 months where I have wound people up. I make no apologies. I've apologised when I've had to apologise, but I know that everything I've done was done with the right intent and, with the right goal of putting the club back where it should be. So, but yeah, it's been good fun. I've loved it.
For me, looking forward, this is going to sound controversial, but I didn't really join just for the football element. For me, this was an opportunity to do a few things. It was an opportunity to give back to the town. I live, as people may know, in Iverson in Greenwood, so right next to the stadium. So it's always, I see it twice a day on my walk with the dog. So it was about trying to to do something for the town. One of the things I remember texting Dave one Sunday morning. I was out for a walk with my daughter and dog, and there were like 100 cars in the car park. You know, there was a game on Old Shield Fields. There was there was under 16s, and I think they were changing over Matty Murby on the morning with his kids, and then the under 16s in the afternoon. Ivinson had 2 juniors games on. I was like, no, this is cool. This is what we tried to do. We want to give people access to sport. So that was really good, and I appreciate now that responsibility in the main moves over the foundation. But I'm really keen to support them and their ambition, but in a way which is beneficial for the club as well. So I need to figure that out. And I've been speaking to Stuart Burkett, who I think is an excellent hire for the foundation. So that'll be good to watch. I do imagine and look forward to the day that we get promoted, because I've seen the pictures from last time and it looks like a good day out. So that would be nice. And then the other thing for me is professional and personal development. I've been met with challenges that I never thought I'd get to have to face so early. COVID being one of them. So we run a company. People often forget that we're a PLC company who have employees, who have well-being rights. We have to protect them. So there's been all sorts of really interesting learnings. And then equally from the people, I think Dave's probably one of the people I speak to most, and he's got a strong background in a similar industry. So for me, it's always good to meet interesting people like him, Brian, Craig, I can name them all, right? Andrew, Gary, and the rest of the team. It's just been a chance to absorb and learn, and there's things that I've taken that we've done at the club and taken to other organisations I'm part of and outside of football.
That's
so
great.
Going forward, I think the summary is promotion would be nice, continue to do well for the town, and continue to learn and enjoy it.
That's great. Thank you very much. Thank you both for coming on and joining us.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so as Nathan alluded to earlier, we are in the process of planning a 24-hour podcast or 24-hour stream, which will be over Twitch. So in which there'll be all sorts of fun activities, games, there'll be some guests, similar in the podcast format that they're going through now. So if you do want to help or you do want to get involved, then you can reach out either the club's account on Twitter at official BRFC or my own account, which is at WeJizBlog.